What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. Join me today to do what may be my favorite version of this podcast. Having done several 100,000 shows in the Pick Six Podcast feed, I have to say, I love an off-season mailbag about as much as I love any podcast that we do. And anytime I get to spend time with Breech and Tyler Sullivan is always a good time. What's up, fellas?
What's going on? How you doing?
Are you in you know what? I'm always different places, so I'm not going to ask you. I was just picturing you at your parents' house in South.
You are right that I am at my parents' house, not in Southie. I'm
okay.
dog sitting and house sitting while they get to enjoy Florida.
Nice. Yeah. I like dog sitting and house sitting for my parents. You feel like you're at home. You know, you get to enjoy the finer, I don't know much. I mean, my dad's like, hey, look, you watch the dog, you watch the house, you can drink the wine, yada, yada, yada.
Well, that's exactly right. I was just telling Breech and Harry before you jumped on, stock the fridge with beer, bunch of food. I'm ready to go. It's great.
Yeah.
Except when Brinson's parents get back, they're like, Will, our wine cellar had 712 bottles. How is the entire thing empty now?
Yeah, no, he's like, when I said I needed to work through the older vintages, I didn't mean you needed to work through the older vintages. I was like, Dad, I was careful. I attacked the 2018 range. He's like, yeah, sure did, buddy. Anywho, the draft's over. A lot of fallout from the draft, of course. Highly recommend checking out With the First Pick. That's the Ryan Wilson and Rick Spielman podcast. Do you remember Ryan Wilson, Breech? Do you remember him when he used to be like, I like Sully better.
Is that the lead singer for the Beach Boys? What? Name sounds familiar. I don't know. Ryan Wilson. Oh, Ryan Wilson.
Ryan Wilson. Oh, yeah. I think I have a Ryan Wilson sound drop somewhere here. So we're going to
there's a path.
There's a path. God, that feels like 40 years ago when Andy Dalton was on the Cowboys. There's a path. Let's get to our first question. This comes from Jalen LeGrant 7742 on YouTube. Yeah, it's a YouTube Logan, I think. And he asked, what surprise team do you think could fall off a cliff? My picks are the Ravens and the Jaguars. Bad offensive lines. I don't know if the Jaguars count because they fell off a cliff during the season last year and missed the playoffs. In a very similar fashion to what the Titans did the year before to allow the Jaguars to get into the playoffs and become that hyped-up team. But I think the Ravens are a possible team with the serious – just from what they had last year to what they have coming back this year, particularly on defense, and then the offensive line. I think that's a reasonable pick. Would the Ravens be your surprise fall off a cliff team, John Breech?
I wouldn't be surprised by that. I think you have to – what is the definition of falling off a cliff? Point. And for me, that would be a team that won double-digit games in 2023 and finishes with a losing record in 2024. So 8-9, that's a losing record. That's still good, not great. But if you won 11 games last year and you go 8-9, I would say that's falling off a cliff, and your fan base is going to be pretty disappointed. Although I guess maybe dropping 4 wins in Brinson's case, because maybe 13-4 down to 9-8 with the Ravens would be falling off a cliff. Yeah, so maybe it's dropping 4 wins.
I think if the Ravens missed the playoffs, that would be falling off a cliff. But yeah, I think that. Well, yeah, you're right. Now, I see 9 wins didn't feel like he fell off a cliff. It's like won 9 games and just lost a tiebreaker. Tough. Sometimes it happens in the NFL. I think I agree with your take, Breech. I think it's double-digit wins, straight like the Patriots. Like the Patriots, right? When they go from the Mac Jones rookie year, Belichick didn't beat Brady. Brady won the Super Bowl. It's yeah, I think it's double-digit wins into completely missing the playoffs. So who would you pick? If not, would it be the Ravens? Or are you just wish casting the Ravens?
Well, you brought up the Ravens, and I only kept talking about them because I was going to name another AFC North team, and that is the Cleveland Browns.
That was my pick. Sully, is that your pick?
No, it's not.
Okay, good.
I don't think the Ravens are a crazy choice, but you look at that division, the AFC North, it's so loaded. And look, the Bengals went 9-8 with Joe Burrow missing half the season. So if he stays healthy, they're going to be trouble. I think the Steelers are going to be better because they can't be any worse at the quarterbacks. But they upgraded a quarterback. That's what that comes down to. And they won 10 games with Kenny freaking Pickett. And then you look at the Ravens. I don't think they're going to take a huge step back. I still think they can win 11 or 12 games. I don't think they'll win 13. So it's like, who in that division is going to regress? And it feels like the Browns are the team. I mean, look, the Browns are stacked, but they have some questions on their offensive line with guys coming off injuries. And then obviously Deshaun Watson. We still have no idea what to make of him. We don't have any idea if he's good. He hasn't shown anything in Cleveland. And until he does, I'm not sure how you can feel comfortable picking the Browns to win 11, 12, or 13 games. So if they drop to 8 and 9, which would be a 3-game drop, I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Breech. I think that makes all the sense in the world, specifically because of the division that they play in, too. I mean, you have Cincinnati that was going through a down year last year because Joe Burrow was hurt. We're not expecting him to miss that much time again. And if Cincinnati is Joe Burrow-led, they're a Super Bowl contender, let alone some team in the division. So somebody has to go down. And like you said, the Deshaun Watson era in Cleveland, if that's what you want to call it, has not worked out whatsoever, has not lived up to that.
ERROR, the Deshaun Watson error.
Exactly right. And so it's just been a dumpster fire with him under center. And it would be so fitting to all of a sudden have a full, 17 games of Deshaun Watson. Somehow they missed the playoffs after starting 5 different quarterbacks a year ago and making the playoffs. It would be very interesting to see that unfold.
Yeah, and I'm looking really looking really quickly at their one score. So their Pythagorean theorem had them as a 9.5 win team last year. So they exceeded it by a game and a half. Like, that's pretty substantial. I think just a very, very quick math that I was running through it, I believe their record in one score games was like 5-2. So, you get lucky in one score games. There was a stretch there too where I feel like they caught bad or backup quarterbacks. They
won 2 wins against the Bengals.
Yeah, right, exactly. And they had the Bengals in week 1 with the hobbled Joe Burrow.
And then they got to face Jake Browning in week 17.
And we also have to throw this out there. We don't know what Nick Chubb's going to look like either.
Yeah. They beat
the 49ers because Jake Moody missed a field goal.
Scored, which is crazy. Like, they ended up being only 13th in points allowed, which maybe not as good as you would think relative to how, like, what their defense was incredible at home and like kind of terrible away. So that's a little weird. I think it's tough to sustain great defense back, like, seasons back to back to back. And I've said this, and I'm going to harp on it all damn season. Brian Callahan leaves the Bengals to go take the Titans job, and he takes his dad with him, who is the Browns offensive line coach. The Browns have been one of the best run teams in the NFL over the last 5 years, or since whenever Kevin Stefanski got there, and whatever Bob Callahan. I think is Bob Callahan the guy who died, Tommy Boy. Since Bill Callahan got there, if you look at teams and lose a guy like a Mike Munchak or a Bill Callahan, there's a noticeable drop off in offensive line play and run game play, run game efficiency after those guys leave, and I think that's going to be a bigger deal than people are sort of expecting. So. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to crap on the Browns too much, but when you talk about teams who won double-digit games, obviously made the playoffs, and then you need them to, like, actually have a losing record, I think the only 2 really good options are, because in the AFC you have the Chiefs, Texans, Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, Dolphins and Bills, and the NFC you have the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Lions, and Niners and Rams. Now, the Rams Matthew Stafford get hurt, and you can see the Rams like struggle with Aaron Donald. That wouldn't be that crazy, I guess. San Francisco is hard to imagine. I'll throw one team out that, and I mean, this is consistently crapping on this. I think the Steelers are a candidate too. Negative 20-point differential. I think the Saints could be a team that they only won 9 games. They didn't even make the playoffs. Just be a team that wins like 4 games. And this is not a Derek Carr thing, even though, I consistently do drag on Derek Carr. It's like Ryan Ramczyk might retire, and, they drafted the left. So you have a rookie left tackle, Ramczyk, the offense, Olave and Kamara's been good. I could just see something like ugly happening for that team if the Falcons are much improved, the Panthers are better, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I could see that as well. I mean, again, and that division is getting better as well. Atlanta getting better with Kirk Cousins. You have, Tampa Bay making a stretch run with Baker Mayfield, bringing all those guys back like that. We dump on the NFC South, but that could end up being a relatively competitive division. And even if Bryce Young bounces back in year 2, you never know. That could be the case there too. The team that I was highlighting was the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I don't know if they fall into the parameters of how we just, described it with Breech. But I will say this, there's a scenario here where after a bunch of 12-5 seasons, they don't get off to the hottest start and Jerry Jones gets panicky and decides to cut bait with Mike McCarthy. And if all of a sudden you're talking about firing your head coach, this whole season has gone awry. So in terms of just a dumpster fire, I think Dallas might be one as well.
I think too, with the all-in stuff, like a slow start, maybe Dak gets banged up. You got to go to the backup. You can see that sort of scenario unfolding. I mean,
and don't sleep on Dan Quinn leaving that defense either.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. By the way, on the Saints, worth noting, I saw that before you go to the Cowboys. I was going to say on the Saints, they were plus 75 point differential. That didn't make any sense. 60. They were plus 34 against the Patriots in Week 5 and plus 31. So 65 of those 75 points came in Week 5 against a terrible Pats team, and Week 18 against the Atlanta Falcons. Just worth noting. Anyway, Breech, on the Cowboys, would you care to offer a breech bot defense?
Breech bot. No, I'm on Sully's bandwagon here. I actually think this is a great pick. You look at the Cowboys did. We've talked about their entire offseason because it takes 5 seconds to talk about. They didn't do anything. They re-signed Ezekiel Elliott. Is that Super Bowl? Does that put them over the top? No, I don't think it puts them over the top. I think it puts them under the bottom. I think they're going backwards if that's possible. And then you look at their schedule. We were just talking about how tough the AFC North is. Well, guess who has to play the AFC North this year? The Dallas Cowboys. That's 4 difficult games. Plus you have that first place schedule. So they'll have to play the 49ers, the Lions. I mean, those 6 games right there, I think those are 6 teams. We even said the Browns might regress, but none of us think the Browns are going to be a bad team. The Browns are going to be a tough team to beat. So, I mean, you're not even counting divisional games or other games. That's 6 games right there. They're going to be very, very tough. And it is, man, I have a tough time seeing the Cowboys win 12 games. So I agree with Saul here. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped to 9-8, or I guess even to meet the parameters here to 8-9. But I don't think they're going to hit 12 wins again.
Cowboys,
and that's coming from Breech bot.
Cowboys finished with plus 194 point differential. Pretty good. Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's my only concern is I don't think that Dak's contract is going to negatively impact his play.
No, I don't think so. I think it's more Mike McCarthy in every decision that he makes could throw this season for a loop.
Yeah, that's right. I can see Mike McCarthy puckering up and doing something weird and making some mistakes. That's not.
Well, and I'll say this too. You have Philadelphia that I assume that they're going to bounce back. So if they win that division, you're banking on Dallas to get in as a wild card entry. But now the NFC is a lot more competitive. You look in the North, you think, okay, what if Chicago takes a leap with Caleb Williams? We already think that Green Bay is going to be a playoff contender. You go to the NFC West, Seattle and Arizona and Los Angeles could all get in as wild card entries as well. I think that's going to be very, very difficult for them to get in as a wild card opponent when you look at the rest of the NFC.
All right. I'm here for it. Let's take a break. And when we come back, dive deeper into the mailbag and pull out more gems from listeners just like you guys. Or maybe the trash. Who knows? But either way, we'll answer. Next.
Sail GP returns to the beaches of Bermuda. On CBS Sports Network.
I screwed up at the beginning of the show. I forgot to ask Breech to help us dive into the
mailbag.
There we go. I feel like you've lost your touch.
What?
It's like a little off. It's like that.
Well, that's what happens. When you have a kid, you start talking in your high kid voice, like "Hey there," or whatever, and then
it is a little bit higher pitch. It sounds like mailbag.
It throws everything off. It's I can't even explain it. Go have a kid, everyone, and then talk to me in 3 years, and you'll understand.
I wouldn't rush out. Although I will say that I had a really fun time with robbing my 10-year-old doing his doing a rainforest project for school that was due today. We got some. They didn't tell me until it's hilarious because all the things that you did as a kid that you forgot that you did that probably annoyed the crap out of your parents. Like he comes in like, all right, buddy, ready to fire this? Are we going to the UPS store? Because do you guys have a working printer at your house?
Yeah.
No. I don't. Probably so. I feel like I try. Every time I try, it breaks and I get annoyed. Anyway, so I went to the UPS store, printed out some stuff that he'd written and typed up. But anyway, his mom hadn't said anything about poster board. Like 7:30, I'm like, all right, buddy, you ready to do this? He's like, yeah. Where's the poster board? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you need to give me a poster board. I was like, all right. So it's like I could just picture myself in elementary school telling my mom, oh yeah, I need poster board. She's like, it's the 1980s. Where do you think I'm going to find poster board? There's no CVS, there's no Walgreens. I can't get poster board at like 7 o'clock at night. What the hell, Will? And so that brought back fond memories. Anyway, he did he did his project on the poison dart frog.
Oh, okay. Also living up to the Brinson name of doing it the night before it's due.
Absolutely.
Nobody does procrastination like the Brinson family.
That is true. It's really, really true. But the poison dart frog, their venom can stop the human heart in 0.1 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, just a simple little boop, and you are dead.
If we're ever in the rainforest, if you go down to Brazil for that Eagles-Packers game and you're near the rainforest, stay away from the poison dart frog.
Yeah, correct. Do not go find poison dart frog. Anyway, Red Fright Ranger 1755 on YouTube has a Chargers question.
Ooh.
Do you think Jim Harbaugh makes a difference year one with the Chargers and will earn his right to stay coach, or do you think he'll wind up another Brandon Staley? I'm pretty impassioned about this, but I will say that I really wish Jim Harbaugh was coaching in any division that didn't involve Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, because otherwise, like I've long picked the Chargers to do good things, and I'm not alone in this. So the entire NFL media landscape is littered with people who are like, oh, it's the Chargers year, and then shocker, it's not the Chargers year. Justin Herbert, of course, is like a darling of NFL Twitter. And anybody who watches football games, just because he's an incredible quarterback. But Harbaugh, I think people are sleeping on this because Harbaugh, traded Keenan Allen, cut Mike Williams, lets Austin Eckler walk, bring in Greg Roman, bring in Gus Edwards. You bring in Will Dissly, who's a blocking tight end. You don't draft a receiver in the first round. You draft a left tackle, even though you have a left tackle. One of those guys, Rashawn Slater or Joe Alt, moved to the right side. And it's like, they're going to turn Justin Herbert into a guy, like he's going to be Alex Smith or something like that. It's a waste of it. He ain't going to do that. Justin Herbert's just going to be more efficient. I mean, he had Andrew Luck at Stanford. He was really good. And the thing with Jim Harbaugh is he wins everywhere he goes immediately. There is no losing with Jim Harbaugh. He went to San Diego and won 12 games off the bat. He goes to San Diego, of course, in college. He goes to Stanford and wins it, gets him to an Orange Bowl. Stanford. He goes to the 49ers and goes to 3 straight NFC Championship games to open his career as an NFL head coach. And somehow the last 5 years, he goes to Michigan, where Brady Hoke had just gone 7-9 or 7-6 or whatever, 6-7, whatever it was, and he immediately has him in the playoffs. Like he just wins wherever he goes. So Sully, for me, there's no question about it. Jim Harbaugh is going to win. If he were in any other division, I would be picking the Chargers to win the division. I think the Chargers are a playoff team right out of the gate.
Yeah, and so to answer the question, is he going to make a difference from Brandon Staley? Yes, of course he is. I mean, the one thing that's really held the Chargers back in recent years was boneheaded decisions by Brandon Staley to go for it in certain situations. And you're just screaming at your television saying, what are you doing? Just play normal football for once and you might be good, because you do have Justin Herbert, talent-wise, a top 3 quarterback in the NFL when everything's cooking. So now that you have stable head coaching, you're not going to see those boneheaded decisions. Now, you make a great point, Will, that obviously you kind of got to mute your expectations a little bit because he just happens to be in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But this team should still be a playoff team. Yes, 250 targets combined last season between Mike Williams, who only played 3 games, but Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen are now gone. We have to figure out what that's going to look like with Ladd McConkey and Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston. But if anybody's going to be able to figure it out, it's going to be Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. I would put a lot of stock into both of those guys.
Yeah, and you're looking at someone in Jim Harbaugh who's the complete opposite of Brandon Staley. When Brandon Staley got hired by the Chargers, he was 5 years removed from coaching at the Division III level. And that's not to knock anything on him because he flew up the ranks, was a very good defensive coordinator, just was not cut out to be a head coach. We see that all the time. We've talked about it before. I mean, Josh McDaniels is another one of those guys, excellent coordinator, not so great as a head coach, and that just happens. And as Brinson mentioned, Harbaugh's ability to be successful, no matter where you throw him, small-time college, University of San Diego, you put him in a Power 5 conference, Pac-12, Stanford, turn things around. In 2011, the 49ers went 6-10 the year before. So there was no reason to think this team was going to be any good. They got to the NFC title game in his first year. And as you guys mentioned, I think playing in the same division as the Chiefs is a good thing for Harbaugh because there's no pressure on him this year. They went 5-12 in 2023. So if you improve by 3 games and go 8-9, I think the fan base is going to be fine with that. Sure, they'd love the playoffs, and some people might see it as another blown opportunity because Justin Herbert didn't get to the postseason, but I think it just creates low expectations, at least in year one. And if the Chargers do come out and win the division, Harbaugh's going to win Coach of the Year. They're going to throw him parades whether he wins the Super Bowl or not, and he's going to look like the best coach in the world. So I think Harbaugh probably loves the fact that he is going into a situation where he doesn't have to win the division to still be considered a success.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's a good counterpoint to the argument and I think if there's anybody who,
well, I do agree with you guys though. I do think he's going to be good though.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying like it's normally if you put him in the AFC South, the expectations would be go win the division. Whereas because he's or the NFC South, right? Whereas because he's in the division with Patrick Mahomes and now you have Sean Payton with Bo Nix. I mean, the Raiders are. It's tough to be. It's probably the best division of football. Maybe the AFC North.
Well, I was going to say, as much as we're talking about, yes, it's not fun to be in the same division as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You are going to go up against Bo Nix and Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. Like Jim Harbaugh is the type of guy who wins those games. Like Brandon Staley is a coin flip. They could be a boneheaded decision. You're losing to Aiden O'Connell somehow at home. I don't think that that's going to happen with Jim Harbaugh. So you can almost, and again, baking in wins is always a tricky kind of thing to do. But I'm much more confident that they sweep the Raiders and the Broncos more so than when they had Brandon Staley. And it could be the same exact roster. Yeah, or like the odds of them going out and sweeping them is substantially higher than it was before. And I do think I like what the Chargers have done in terms of saying, okay, we're going to figure out – Jim Harbaugh is an offensive coach. He knows – I mean, his defenses are always good. And, hard-nosed – like, Michigan's defense is incredible. But it's very clear that they're like, okay, we're going to keep – like, we have all these cap issues on both sides of the ball. Let's address them all on offense, all at a position that's a little bit extraneous for what we do on offense, the wide receiver position. You don't need 4 – I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Harbaugh would like 4 stud wide receivers, but you don't need them. You bring in McConkey, and you still like. Quentin Johnston's a first round pick. I know people are so down on him, and I get it. He didn't play very well, but again, coaching matters. I think Harbaugh will get the most out of him, and so I don't know. I just think I would not be entirely shocked if the Chargers were fighting with the Chiefs for the division, and I don't think. Harbaugh, you saw it with Pete Carroll in both at USC and then in Seattle when he followed him to the NFC West, which was weird. Pete Carroll's always had a weird relationship with Harbaugh. But what's your deal? But the I could see him and Andy Reid. I could see him and Sean Payton having some stuff on the field. I mean, do you remember Harbaugh and Jim Schwartz? Just an incredible screaming match when Schwartz was in Detroit. All right. Next up, we sort of answered this previously, but we can dive back into the draft because we asked for questions and you give them to us. Noah Khan, 8836 says, which team got the best pick in terms of value and who had the worst? So I'm just going to repeat what I said on the post on Monday show. Peyton Wilson, 98th overall.
Steelers got he's literally was voted the best defensive player in the country. He's older. He's got some injury histories, but I think Peyton Wilson's the answer. He can come in and play for them right away on a defense that's already really good, shore them up against the run. He's great in coverage, 3-down linebacker. If he's healthy, I think he's a great bet. In fact, I'm going to bet him for defensive rookie of the year right now. It's like 35-1.
What?
I mean,
you win that bet. Just remember that Sully and I were here when you made it, and maybe, throw us some love or.
Yeah, any bet that you make during the podcast, it's like a rev share situation.
Right. It's a team situation. It's like when a bunch of people throw in on lottery tickets. You split it all even.
All right. Well, yeah, you guys, once you guys Venmo me, I'm going to put $10,000 on it. Why don't you guys Venmo me $3,333 each, and I'll either send it back to you at the end of the year, or we'll get really paid off. How about that?
You'll just have an endless supply of poster board at that point.
Yeah, that's right.
I would feel better if we just put the money in an escrow account than sending it to Brinson.
I would rather have the poison dart bullfrog in my hand than to give Brinson that much money.
If we sent Brinson that bottle or sent him that money, there would be a $10,000 bottle of bourbon. There would be a $10,000 bottle of bourbon behind him on the next podcast, and we'd be like, "Wait, where did you get that?"
Yeah, you'd be like, "What's going on here?"
That's crazy.
All right. Okay, so who's your best value? I think the worst value, I mentioned him in the previous segment. Look, Bo Nix at 12, just bad value. And as a quarterback, maybe he's great. That's fine. And Michael Penix at 8 would be a fine answer too, if you wanted. I mean, I don't think anybody thought he was going to go 8, but clearly he was going to go 11, 12, or 13. I just think there's you get 3 quarterbacks off the board, and then you're forced to take Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, or Michael Penix in the top 15. Very reminiscent of 2011 when Christian Ponder, Blaine Gabbert, and Jake Locker all came. I guess Gabbert was kind of in the mix before, but just like it felt like teams. It was the lockout year. Teams didn't have there was just for football economic reasons. These guys got pressed up, and so I think any one of those quarterbacks you can make the case for. What about you, Sully?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the Bo Nix one. I thought that was the worst value. Now, you made a good point when we talked about it after. Like, listen, the whole football world can be wrong and Sean Payton can be right. So, like, there is a world where it works out, but boy, it just does not feel like that's going to pan out as well as you would want to if you're Denver. But for me, the best value was Cooper DeJean in the second round for the Philadelphia Eagles, because it felt like he was in consideration to be a first-round pick for them. They end up going with Quinyon Mitchell. And the fact that he was available to them, again, they traded up in the second round to go get him. But the fact that Howie Roseman was able to move up a little bit to go get another person to inject into that secondary, I think is just, basically 2 first-round picks if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah. It's funny, though, because I love that pick for the Eagles also. But the one thing I would be a little worried about with Philadelphia is, look, they got like Quinyon Mitchell fell in their lap in the first round. You get Cooper DeJean in the second round. But now you might have 2 rookies in your secondary, which I think would concern me a little if I'm the Eagles, even though I very much like both players. It's just a spot where you don't want to have a ton of inexperience there, but you're going to have that if you're starting 2 rookies. But individually, when you look at it like that, I love both of those picks. Should I go to mine?
Yeah.
So when we talked on Monday, I put my best value as Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to switch to a different receiver now. I have time to think about it. And it's not even the one I put in the rundown. So I'm double switching. I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey. We just talked about the Chargers so much that now I am sold on that pick. The Chargers took a huge risk by not taking a receiver at 5th overall when it felt like their most glaring need. Harbaugh said, to hell with that. We're taking an offensive lineman because all I want to do is run the ball. And if I do throw the ball, I want to be able to protect Justin Herbert. So they take Joe Alt at 5th overall. Looked a little risky, but then have Ladd McConkey fall to them in the second round, who some people thought could have been a first-round receiver. So not only do you get your offensive lineman, but you get this receiver, and you look at who the Chargers have to throw the ball to. There's no one. So Ladd McConkey could put up some huge numbers in his rookie year. And so you have a second-round guy who could put up huge numbers. To me, that is a great value.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I was surprised he was there. I thought that the Buffalo Bills were certainly going to go after him with the top pick in the second round. End up going with Keon Coleman. We'll see how that shakes out. But the fact that he was on the board for them, and it drove me crazy because I was somebody who they traded out with the New England Patriots. I wanted the Patriots to draft Ladd McConkey. They end up going in a different direction. But the fact that you trade out of that pick and the Chargers go up and you pair him with Justin Herbert, I think there's an opportunity for New England to look pretty bad there.
Yeah, I mean, Panthers too. Trade from 33 to 32. Trade into the first round. And, I'm going to go fifth option. Okay, yeah, sure. Maybe just don't give up any draft picks. How about that? To get Xavier Legette, and you could have just sat where you were at 33 and probably either gotten Xavier Legette or somebody took him. You could take Keon Coleman or Ladd McConkey. And I get that maybe the Panthers, Ladd McConkey, maybe not as great a fit for the Panthers just because he can get vertical, don't get me wrong, but they wanted somebody to really stretch the field, and Legette fits that mold. But yeah,
real quick, Brinson, on the bad value, you already mentioned him, but I just want to say real quick, Michael Penix, because to me, look, when you were talking about value as a first-round pick, a team is looking for someone who can immediately improve the roster. Michael Penix does not do that. And we have talked about this a lot. Obviously, he's going to sit out his first year, maybe his second year, might not be starting until his third year. So here is a fun fact that makes the Falcons' decision look even crazier. How many times do you think in NFL history has a first-round quarterback sat out his entire rookie year and then gone on to win a Super Bowl with the team that drafted him?
Never.
I guess it might be never because Patrick Mahomes played week 18 or whatever.
Mahomes got one start his rookie year. It has happened one time.
So was it Aaron Rodgers?
It was Aaron Rodgers. That's it. So you're basing your entire draft strategy off something that has happened literally one time in NFL history. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, it's a great point.
But that's it.
Maybe Jordan Love could be the one that does it again. And yeah, I mean, like, by the way, I do think that week 17 start Mahomes had against the Broncos, he looked incredible, by the way.
It was unreal.
Was like probably, I mean, I think Andy Reid knew it was 1 year with Alex Smith, but I think that sort of helped to facilitate. It's like, all right, Alex, anybody who wants to trade for this guy, and we're getting rid of Mahomes. This guy's ready to go. Okay. Favorite team battle. Interesting. This is from Dom the Blind at Envision FF on Twitter. Between all the favorite teams of the host, the Bengals, Steelers, Patriots, Jaguars, whatever team that Will is rooting for this year, who will go the furthest in the playoffs in 2024? Who's the Jaguars fan?
Is that Prisco?
Prisco, I think.
Oh, right. The first NFL game I ever went to was actually a Jaguars game.
What? Doesn't your family live in Jacksonville?
My mom's my brother's actually he's a Jaguars fan. My mom's parents. My mom's from Jacksonville. She went to the bowl school with old Mac Jones, and she went with him obviously. And my grandfather he bought season tickets when the team started in Jacksonville and took tickets. So I went for the Jags, but yeah, I would say. I'm a Chiefs fan this year, so I'll say me. No, I'm kidding. I'm still a Rams fan. I'm still a Matthew Stafford guy.
You're a Rams or Chargers fan. That was my.
Yeah, I'm a Rams fan. I mean, I think the answer is probably the Bengals. If I was picking out of this list of Bengals, Steelers, Patriots, Jaguars, and Rams, I think the Bengals have the lowest Super Bowl odds and have a franchise quarterback. If the Ravens come back to earth a little bit, the Browns maybe come back a bit too. And the Steelers' all-season improvements aren't as drastic as we thought. And I mean, look, the Steelers had a negative point differential last year and won 10 games. I mean, negative 20 and won 10 games. I mean, the Bengals could win that division by 2 or 3 games if everything clicks in their favor. And everything kind of clicked against them last year.
Yeah, I'll go real quick because I'll just let Breech run with it. It's clearly the Bengals. If Joe Burrow's healthy, he's a top 3 quarterback in the league. Pretty much every time he's healthy, they go to an AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. So I don't know how it couldn't be the Bengals.
And the crazy thing, though, is that it is a big if Joe Burrow's healthy, because, look, he's had enough injuries at this point that's a legit worry if you're a Bengals fan, whether it's the torn ACL, last year's the calf in training camp, the wrist. I mean, they're just the ailments keep piling up. And I said this on Tuesday with Brinson and Prisco, that if there's any other injuries this season, you're immediately going into panic mode if you're a Bengals fan. I mean, it could be a minor injury because then you're worried about it turning into a major injury. So even though I do think the Bengals are probably the answer, and I absolutely agree with you guys, I'm not even going to pile on. I'm gonna say that the Rams might be the sneaky answer because they have built a strong team. I think they're in a weaker conference. I mean, NFC is a lot better than it was last year, but maybe they sneak into the NFC title game. So I'll go Bengals, but Rams at 1A.
I don't think it would be crazy if we caught a Bengals Rams part 2.
Ooh, can sprinkle some money on that. Should we Venmo you some more money?
Did you,
another 10K?
Did you send me my $3,300?
Oh my God.
Whoa.
What are the odds for Bengals Rams?
So Adam Schefter just tweeted that a retirement after 40 years of distinguished service with Roger Goodell in the same tweet. I was like, what? But it's actually Jeff Pash who's retiring, the NFL's lead attorney. Jeff Pash noted, man, he is ruthless. He's like one of if Roger Goodell had evil minions, Jeff Pash would be one.
Is that what you want out of your lawyer, though?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff.
You let them do the dirty work.
Yeah, Jeff Pash, evil minion, like quintessential corporate lawyer, like guy who will just come because the NFL. I think the PR with the NFL and the NFL, the figureheads for the NFL have got a lot more friendly and happy, because just in modern times. Back in the day, and I can't even imagine what it was like with Prisco, but definitely, even when I started covering the NFL, it was some of these guys were very the hell do you want? Anywho, what were we talking about?
Thanks for that trip down memory lane, Brinson.
I was trying to find the odds for Peyton Wilson to do the.
You were talking about Bengals Rams part 2 in the Super Bowl.
That's right. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, new uniforms for every team. Somehow Antonio Brown is heavily involved. We will break them all down. Coming up next.
From the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, is there anyone stronger?
No.
Tougher?
No.
Hungrier?
Grapes was an interesting choice for someone who doesn't use fingers.
Knuckles, now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Knuckles, hell yeah! I'm gonna watch that with Robbie tonight. But that's for streaming. Now, for those listening to the podcast in audio form, we had a Paramount Plus ad there. Go check out Paramount recently. Plus. Amount of entertainment. And are you a Sonic guy?
Yeah. I played Sonic. I played Sega all the time growing up.
Oh, okay. I mean, you were very recently. I've been watching.
Well, yeah, no, it just came out. I actually intend to watch it. It's actually very weird because I'm in my childhood home planning to watch a Sonic thing. I don't know. I'm in a weird space.
That's right. If my mom hadn't thrown out all my Justice League super action figures and all the He-Man action figures, I would have definitely fired those up and just played around, sitting around the house playing with them like a total nerd. All right. New Jersey Power Rankings. Which sounds a lot like we're ranking things from the state of New Jersey. No interest in doing that.
Not having to pump gas.
Tony Soprano, number 1.
Yeah, Tony Soprano, definitely number 1. Prosciutto. Oh, I'm just kidding. Prosciutto. There seem to be lots of New Jerseys coming down the pike.
New Jersey pun.
I almost watched a fight during a traffic jam as a kid on the New Jersey Turnpike. We were going up to Cooperstown to visit the Baseball Hall of Fame, and we were stopped in the standstill traffic, and some guy 2 cars ahead of us or 1 car ahead of us flicked off this trucker, and the trucker was so mad he started taking his truck and coming over to take him out. Where's my dad's do? So that was the whole thing.
I feel like that's a Wednesday in New Jersey.
Yeah. I think it was on Wednesday, at 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that. Anyway, since we're fashing forward, we're going to rank the new uniforms. Let's get into the aesthetics of the athletics. Harry. Flexing the writing muscles. I just read it. So I can't talk. We have 4 options. We start with the Jets. Woo! I like these uniforms. How do you want to do that? How do you want to rank these? Do you want to just rank these 1 through 4? Do you want to grade them individually? What do you want to do here?
I rank them. So I don't know. I don't know what everybody else did, but I can also throw out a grade if we want to do that.
No, let's just rank them. All right. We have the Jets. We also have the Texans, which is Houston Falcons, I think. It's the mix of the Falcons and the Titans. What's going on here? The H is cool. I love it's Titans. Looks a little too Tennessee Titans-y, but whatever. We have the Denver Broncos. Good boy. These did not go over well.
Brinson, I'm laughing because you're going to get so much hate mail saying that the Houston Texans jerseys look Tennessee Titans-y when the Titans stole their colors from the Houston Oilers.
I'm aware.
Of course it looks Titans-y because it's their colors.
I know. I like it. I mean, all I'm saying is that the modern. Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. I agree with you. And the Detroit Lions. Ooh. I kind of like that alternate black with the blue helmet, even though it's kind of Carolina blue. All right, so you said you got your rankings in front of you.
Yep.
Well, let's all give our number 4.
Number 4 to me is the Denver Broncos, the Blue Mountain State Broncos. It looks so awful. I like a white helmet. I think that actually is kind of a cool aesthetic, but I don't like it just feels a little too video game-y. Like if I'm creating
the white helmet, Madden, white helmet, blue jersey, orange pants look is terrible.
Yeah, that looks
that's so awful. What is going on there?
I mean, it looks like a bad college team on it looks like Blue Mountain State. Like that's exactly what it looks like. If you've ever seen that show, it's just not a good look.
4 is Broncos for me too. What about you, Breech?
4 is our fashion sense. If we're ever on the fashion police, we're gonna have one of us is getting arrested. Probably me.
I'm wearing a shirt from like 2007.
I'm wearing a hoodie for like the 10th straight day, so don't worry about it.
The same hoodie.
Sully and I both have gray hoodies. My 4 is the Jets, and the thing is, I almost wish we would have gone with grades because I like the Jets uniforms, but out of these 4, they're just the most meh. I mean, when your uniform design is so uninspired that all you did was take your uniforms from 1985 and update them a little bit, that doesn't mean much to me. Like, so congratulations to the Sack Exchange era that had great uniforms, and I'm glad they updated them and they look smooth, but I just not inspired.
Well, I think that's the problem, right? Like, I think that these jerseys, like when they try to do a brand new design, like we're looking at with the Broncos earlier, they just try too hard and it doesn't really land. I like the nostalgia updated nostalgia. I like if we can go back to just a block number jersey instead of these, digital telephones and these weird italicized numbers or whatever the hell they are. I think it's way better to go classic and just kind of give it a little new flair. I think that 10 times out of 10 works out better.
But to that point, if we were grading these, I would give it a B. Like, I don't hate any of these uniform updates. I like them all. So my lowest grade would have been a B. Okay.
I mean, all right. That's interesting. There's no way in hell. I'm just surprised by that. I think I'm sure with Sully too. I don't like as much. I don't like change as much.
Get off my lawn. It's like
pretty much. I mean, I'm a 42-year-old dad. I want my rope hat. I like my rope hats. This golf shirt is from, shout out to my cousin Aaron who got this for me at the Byron Nelson, which is going on right now. Back in when she was working there in like 2007 or 8. This is so funny though, because it's a golf shirt, but it's when golf shirts are making the transition into, like golf shirts now are like super stretchy. This is like stretchy mesh. It's very, it's a weird combination. It's like they didn't know what they were doing. They were like, all right, we'll just, dudes want to wear, dudes are down to wear spandex on their chest. Anywho, I'm going to split the Texans at 3. What about you, Sully?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have the same list, Brinson, because I'm Texans.
We do. We have the Texans at 3 because we know we have the Jets at 1. Yeah.
And I actually don't like the H helmet. I don't really love that look. That again feels like something that you create in Madden, and it's just kind of a weird team.
I don't like that the blue. It's with the blue gloves and the blue outline on the letters, the numbers either.
I get they're probably trying to go like a little Houston Oilers nod. I get it, but me personally, I don't like it. What I do love are the red jerseys, specifically the red helmet with the horn. It's giving me, Los Angeles Rams vibes, but I think it applies here. I think that is a nice touch.
Okay. What is your number 3, Breech?
Mine, I actually agree with you guys here. I have the Texans. And one thing that's interesting about this, though, and you guys mentioning that you love maybe they should have done more with that blue is that they wanted to, but they weren't allowed to. The Texans owner, Cal McNair, and his wife, Hannah McNair, I think, both said, hey, look, we wanted to that, but we kind of got shut down, kind of insinuating that the Titans put the kibosh on it, and which is just crazy. It's like, there's Houston. These colors originated in Houston, the Columbia blue. They should have been allowed to do more. But I do agree with you. I don't like the H helmet. It just, the color doesn't work. I don't like what they did with the Columbia blue. They could have done something else with it. I think would have worked. I don't think this is it. But I absolutely love the red helmet with kind of the bullhorn, the steer horn. That one works. So, and then, I think the dark navy blue looks too similar to what they had before. So I like some of it. I don't like some of it. And that's how it lands at 3.
I like some of it. I don't like some of it. I would just say that if we're going to do anything with the Texans here, how about you take the Titans? Hey, NFL, how about you give the Oilers unis back to Houston, right? Give them the uniforms for the Houston Oilers because they're still in Houston. Like, I understand the Titans left. Like, if you leave the city and you take the franchise and move the franchise, you should lose the right to have those uniforms.
Right. And it's very easy to basically just give them that. It's not like we're running into like a Baltimore Colts situation. You're like, okay, does Indy get it? Does Baltimore get it? It's a completely different team name. It's a completely different, it's just uniform and all of that. I think it would be very easy for the NFL to just let them use those uniforms, even though, again, it's technically not the franchise, but still, I'm with you. If you could give the Houston Oilers their throwback, Houston Texans, the Houston Oilers throwbacks, I think that would be awesome.
And the whole thing there is Bud Adams, the owner of the then Houston Oilers, moved the team to Tennessee, wanted to keep it. They were the Tennessee Oilers for 2 seasons until they got their permanent digs at Nissan Stadium. I think they played at Vanderbilt Stadium for a year. They played in Memphis for a year. And those were the 2 years they were Tennessee Oilers, and then came up with a new name, the Tennessee Titans, in 1999. And at that point, that's when they should have said, all right, Houston, you can have the name back because we are not the Oilers anymore. We're the Titans.
Well, we've seen this in professional sports before with the Charlotte Bobcats, and then they became the Hornets because the New Orleans Pelicans turned into the Pelicans, and they just gave them back the Hornets. So, it's not unprecedented.
Right. It's just the issue is there's a lot of bad blood between those two franchises.
Yeah, 100%.
But Adams, Amy Adams Strunk would probably Bud Adams would roll over his grave if his daughter gave that back.
But we also saw the NFL let the city of Cleveland keep the Browns when Cleveland, the original team, moved to Baltimore. So there is precedent for it. It's just weird that how this whole situation played out. It was just such a disaster.
Yeah. I wonder, I'm sure there's something that has to do with who owns the particular trademark and the intellectual property aspect of it. And I would guess that, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bud Adams had it in his will that you forfeit all of your money given to you by me, your father, if anyone tries to give the city of Houston back the Oilers and the Oilers uniforms. Because remember, Bud Adams famously got up when they played when the Titans went back and played in Houston. He got out of the game, walked out of his owner's box, and gave the double bird. It was fined $50,000 by the NFL and people booing him like crazy. He just walks out. He's like, "F you!" and fires double birds out of him. Oh, God, what a moment! I think I blogged about that. My number 2 is the Detroit Lions.
Ooh.
And I like the helmet stripes, nice and clean. This is not overly reimagined. I'm not I wish Chapel Hill wasn't light blue because it'd be a lot easier to love that color because it's a very lovable color except for that aspect. These blacks are intriguing. These black uniforms are very intriguing to me with that blue helmet. I sort of feel like you could even go on black helmet with the blue lion, but I like the way that those look. And these are just really clean. And to me, I think maybe that's the difference. Breech is more of a flair guy. He likes to order the pink drinks with little fruits on top. And Sully and I like a nice, whiskey on the rocks. This is a very straightforward, crisp, clean look for me, Sully.
Yeah, I will say as a fan of a Bahama Mama every now and again, I should like the blue helmet. I can't stand it. It's my number 2. This is my number 2 jersey. I like, again, like the reimagined classic. So I like that. I do not like this helmet. I do not like the blue.
You sound like Sam I Am, like Dr. Seuss.
I do not like the blue.
I do not like it here or there. I do not like it anywhere.
I think they would be better served if it was a black helmet and they just kind of did like a blackout type of vibe. But also, the Detroit Lions have one of my favorite helmets in the NFL. Don't mess with it. It's like messing with, like when the Chicago Bears had the orange helmet. I thought it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen because you just look like the Cleveland Browns. Don't mess with an iconic helmet. And that is, to me, an iconic helmet. I would keep the gray helmet and just go with a black jersey. I think that would still look sharp.
I had the Lions at number 1, surprisingly. Look, I talked about how I did like the Jets uniforms. They did look crisp, but to me, you're just kind of reimagining something you already had before and you didn't have enough flair. Yes, that's what the Lions did with 2 of their uniforms, which are really sharp. I love the white and the Honolulu blue ones, but then the flair they added is with the blue helmet and they gave us something different. And I love the black jerseys. I love the blue helmet. And that's what throws me over the top with the Lions and differentiates them from what the Jets did, because it is a similar design in the sense that they said, let's just update our classic uniforms. And that's what they did. But man, that blue helmet, there's going to be one back here. I already have some helmets. I've never lived in Detroit.
You love the blue helmet.
I'm going to get the blue helmet back here behind me before the start of the season. That's how much I love it.
All right. And number 1 for me, it's Sully, the Jets. We've seen it a couple times. Again, simple, simplicity reimagined. You're just updating it. You're bringing back these old schools. Those black uniforms are hot. Like, and I wouldn't wear them down in Miami in September because they'd be literally hot. I think they look really good. Like I like the way that green pops on those. And these uniforms, like they'll be playing with them this year, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can kind of get behind the Jets all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I like the green ones with the white numbers. I just think it pops. I think it's again, it is my favorite one too.
And I'll just say your guys' I think who'd you have at number 4? The Broncos?
Yeah.
That was my number 2. Look, I understand why people hate the Broncos uniforms, but I love that they actually tried something. You can't really see it in the image if you're watching on YouTube, but they have the Rocky Mountains on the sleeves. I love that. I think the all navy look is sharp. I would think the all white look is sharp. The only one I don't like is the blue over orange, which does look like Blue Mountain State, as Tyler mentioned. And we're going to talk about the throwbacks in a second, but that was also a big part of their unveiling. I think they have one of the best throwbacks in the NFL, and I think that has to be included because that was part of their new uniform release this year. And so when you throw all of that together, I actually liked it. So the Broncos uniform is kind of growing on me. I had it number 2 overall.
All right, let's speed grade some of the throwback uniforms that, oddly enough, Antonio Brown is getting the scoop on. Antonio Brown's, we don't need to get into his whole media empire thing that he's trying to start up, but needless to say, he somehow has a scoop on these. These are just leaks, so we'll take we'll just assume 1990s Jaguars throwback. How would you grade that? I mean, A++ for me. It's tacky. It's terrible, but it's my childhood.
Yeah, I'm thinking back at the old AFC Championship games against the Patriots, and they have like the full Jaguar on the helmet. I'm a fan of these, and again, it's purely nostalgia driven.
Yeah, I love those uniforms. I love anything Jacksonville does with teal, so the more teal, the better.
All right, the 1955 Giants throwbacks. I mean, I guess. I don't really like it. I don't really like it when NFL teams go that far back. It's like the Bumblebee Steelers.
I was just going to say it's giving me Bumblebee vibes, and I don't know if I love that.
I would wear that as a T-shirt.
Well, this is the problem with it too. Like, isn't some of these like, back, if we go that far back, aren't they like sweaters at a certain point? And so like, okay, it might look better as like a quasi sweater, but not a Nike stretch fit type of NFL jersey of today. I don't know if it really applies.
So these are 1933. So if you are listening to audio, Google it, you'll find it, see what they look like. I have to say, I want to see what this looks like in person. We're looking at the drawings. We're looking at the illustration of the design that will be coming out eventually, theoretically, if Antonio Brown's correct. But he's been right about every other jersey release, so we have reason to think he is. But I want to see this one as an actual jersey before I grade it or love it or hate it, because I don't hate it. I think it'd be okay. The Bumblebee jerseys are just like ugly colors together, and the way they were designed, it just didn't really work. Or the Broncos throwbacks with the brown and the yellow, that was weird. But these colors kind of work together. I could see this looking okay on a jersey, so I'm incomplete. That's my
right. It's important to point out for people that are just listening that we're only looking at the actual jersey. We don't really know the pants, the helmet. Like we don't.
And it's an illustration of the jersey,
right? And it's not a full picture. So like yes, we still kind of need to see how it would all kind of come together.
Yep. Vikings have some alternates. I would say nah.
Yeah,
white with purple. Yeah. And more importantly, the Broncos, because these 1977 inspired throwbacks, you could take, I don't know why I almost did a Donald Trump impression. Tremendous jerseys. These are amazing. Just the best jerseys. I don't know where that came from. It was like, you can take all that crap you did with the number 4 ranked jerseys that we had before. You include this, and you're number 1. You're my number 1. These are incredible.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy that we're, I know Breech was trying to sneak in that these counted for the new ones. And I get what you're saying. They all kind of came in the same announcement. But no. These are awesome. These are what they should just be wearing all the time. These are one of the best, if not the best throwbacks in the NFL. That the new stuff that they brought in was garbage. You could throw it in the trash. I don't need it. If you wear this every single Sunday, I'm a happy camper. And it's one of those things like, sometimes we're quoting other people now. I'll quote Matthew McConaughey. Sometimes it's best to go backwards to go forwards. This is the way to go if you're the Denver Broncos. Give me these throwbacks all day long. The D on the side of the helmet. It's all the way around. It's just chef's kiss.
Yeah, these are awesome. And if we're quoting people, I'm just going to quote Macho Man. Ooh, yeah, I dig it. That's how I feel about these. The Orange Crush, there's nothing not to like. And the one thing is, the Broncos will be one of the few teams that are going to be taking advantage of the 3 helmet rule. Every team can't do it until 2025 unless your new design was coming out this year. Then you had the opportunity to. And so they'll have these throwback helmets with their royal blue, but then they also have their navy blue ones and their white ones. So they will be one of the very few teams with 3 different helmets this year. Fun fact.
All right. Before we get out of here, got to hand our boy Johnny Breech his flowers. This is pretty impressive, actually. So Breech nailed his bold draft predictions. I missed both of mine. The Giants did not get Drake May, although I will say that they attempted as hard as they could. The Giants and the Vikings, according to the reports out there, were like, I'm a little surprised the Patriots didn't trade out. And the Patriots actually, what's that?
It was they offered their first round pick for 2025. The Giants did reportedly. The Vikings offered both of their first and their 2025 first. I probably would have done that. Especially the Giants, like if they, again, we won't get too much into it, but like if the Patriots were, just as fine with JJ McCarthy as reports suggested, you could have had him at 6 and have the Giants number 1 pick, which could be the number 1 pick next year in the draft. It would have gave me some pause.
The other thing that gave me pause too about that, and I know we're supposed to get to Breech here, but the fact that the Giants,
we're just delaying because we don't want to give Breech's flowers. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
The Patriots reportedly were like their love of Drake May was, I believe the word was bolstered by the fact that it was Kevin O'Connell and Brian Dable who were trying to trade for Drake May. They're like, oh, well, they like him. We should like him. It's like, I don't know if I like that thinking.
Which is a little crazy. I get the logic.
I understand it. You're like,
and these are 2 guys that have Patriots ties. Kevin O'Connell was drafted by the Patriots. Brian Dable's won every Super Bowl that the Patriots have won, I believe, with the organization. He was most recently their tight ends coach. So, there's a relationship there, but boy, have a little bit more conviction internally instead of just being like, oh, 2 great offensive minds like him? All right. I don't know. At least
don't let that crap get leaked out.
Exactly right.
Like the entire.
And I want to give Sully one flower because he did boldly predict the Vikings wouldn't trade up, and it looked like they weren't going to. And they said, you know what? F you, Sully. We're going to trade up one spot just so your prediction doesn't hit. One spot.
And then I had first non-quarterback taking. I think it was J.C. Latham. All that crap ended up being a crap. I just like Joe Hall. Anyway, J.C. Latham was never in play. That was bizarre. Maybe a little smoke screening by Jim Harbaugh, and
that was Harbaugh was trying to snuff out a rat. That's what
serious
going theory.
Sully also said the Cowboys would take Spencer Rattler. They certainly had their chances.
They did, but they didn't.
Let's hear what Breech had. Breech said,
I think 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. We've been here, and look, that's only been happening. That's only happened once in the entire history of the draft. Back in 1983, that famed draft class, and it's kind of hard to believe it has not happened a single time since.
Nailed it, Johnny.
It seems so obvious now, but look, it was 4 quarterbacks the whole time, and it was what's going to happen with Penix and Nix. And I mean, I'm shocked that they went top 12.
Right. I was going to say, you could have gotten even bolder and said 6 quarterbacks. Did you say 6 quarterbacks were in the top 20? Was that what the?
Yeah, that's what we talked the prediction into to make it even bolder.
But it's crazy that the real life is even bolder than your bold prediction. Good job.
Imagine if there would have been a prop that said bet on 6 quarterbacks going in the top 15. That would have been what? Plus 1,000? It would have been something absurd.
All right. Breech's other prediction was?
I'm going to go with Johnny Newton. So I could see teams, just because of the injury risk, passing on him in the first round, and you see him fall into the second round.
That was the biggest faller portion. I was like, why was Breech's bold prediction about Johnny Newton? Why did we let him have that? That didn't make any sense. But yeah, nailed it. 2-0 on those, Breech.
Boom. I'll be back next year with more draft bold predictions.
So, Breech, if you would do us all a favor, could you just give us a couple of numbers so we can go play the lottery real quick?
Yeah.
3.
All right, that's you heard it there first. The lottery number is 3. All right, that is anyway. We did 2 great predictions from Breech. We were all pretty good. We got all over that draft. I think we did a pretty good job. Ended up being chalky, but that's okay. I forgot. Breech also said, we didn't play this clip, but Breech said there was going to be a huge trade up.
I didn't.
But still, nonetheless, pretty good job. All right, that'll do it for us. We're back next week for more football coverage as we head into the off season. Plus, we'll find some other weird stuff to talk about, I'm sure. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, rate us on YouTube, turn on the alerts. For Sully, for Breech, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.